Lucille Ball spent 40 years making America laugh every single week, while quietly falling apart inside. This was her final interview with Johnny Carson, the moment comedy's biggest star broke her own legend wide open. Forget the reruns and those wild red-haired antics for a second. What happened on The Tonight Show stage 8 days before she died changed far more lives than any I Love Lucy episode ever could. 20 million people watched the woman who built a comedy empire burst into tears and couldn't stop. Men right there in the audience cried without holding back. Johnny Carson, who'd interviewed thousands over 30 years, later called it the most heartbreaking moment of his entire career. Therapists still use this clip today because Lucille didn't just break down. She confessed the truth she'd buried for decades. She picked fame over family, and she'd trade every Emmy, every ovation, every second of glory for one more day with the man she loved. This isn't just Hollywood history, it's the choice we all face right now, between the world's applause and the love waiting at home. If you've ever put work before family, this story will hit you hard. Backstage that April evening in 1989, Lucy sat completely still. Makeup artists tried their best, but they couldn't hide what the cancer was doing. She'd lost 30 pounds in just 2 months. Her hands shook constantly on the chair arms, nothing like the woman who once juggled chocolates like a whirlwind. Everyone at NBC knew she was sick, but nobody expected what she'd say when the cameras rolled. A young production assistant whispered through the door, "Miss Ball, we're ready in 5 minutes," his voice shaking with awe. This wasn't just another guest, this was Lucy, the woman who invented the sitcom, the first woman to run a major TV studio, an icon. Down the hall, Johnny Carson sat unusually quiet. His producer had warned him, "Johnny, she's really sick. Doctors say her time's short. She asked for you specifically. Said she has something important to say."
Johnny had known Lucy over 30 years. He'd grown up watching I Love Lucy, dreaming of a career like hers. Now a heavy feeling settled in his chest as he realized this wouldn't be another light-hearted chat about silly commercials or forgotten lines. When Lucy walked on stage that night, the audience gave a standing ovation, but it wasn't their usual explosive cheer. It felt different, solemn, almost like a goodbye. She moved slowly with a cane, wearing an elegant burgundy dress, her famous red hair perfect, yet she looked fragile. Her face was pale, her smile strained, and those sparkling eyes that had teased audiences for 40 years now seemed haunted. People weren't just clapping, they were holding their breath, grieving for someone who'd always made them laugh but now looked utterly vulnerable. Johnny did something rare. He stood up, walked around his desk, and gently helped her into the chair. No jokes, no small talk, just two old friends sharing a silent moment. "Lucy," Johnny said, his voice thick with emotion. She managed a shaky reply. "Where else would I be? You've got the best seat in town." For 15 minutes it seemed normal. She told the chocolate factory story. People laughed. She mentioned Desi Arnaz carefully, avoiding anything too personal. Lucy was performing like always, making people laugh while hiding her real self. But Johnny saw through it. He noticed her trembling hands, the catch in her voice, the desperate fight beneath the surface. That's when he went off script. He leaned in and asked a question nobody had ever dared. "Lucy, you've given us so much laughter. What's actually brought you joy?" The question hung heavy in the air. Lucy froze. Her smile vanished. She looked down at her shaking hands, then back at Johnny. "Joy," she repeated quietly, like the word was foreign.
People assume because you make them laugh, you must be happy. Because you're successful, you've got everything. Because you're famous, you're fulfilled. She paused, the silence stretching tight. "But what if I told you," her voice dropped, trembling now, "that I spent my whole life making people laugh while dying inside? What if every smile you saw was covering up my deepest regret?" The studio went dead silent. You could hear the cameras whirring. Someone coughed in the back. Johnny's shock was plain. This wasn't planned. Lucy's knuckles turned white, gripping the chair. A single tear cut through her makeup. "Johnny, can I tell you something I've never said publicly?" Johnny, who'd kept his cool through 30 years of interviews, could barely answer. "Of course, Lucy, anything." She took a shaky breath, wiping her eyes roughly. "I'm dying, maybe 2 weeks left. But that's not why I'm here. I need to talk about Desi." The audience gasped. Lucy and Desi's divorce was Hollywood legend, and for 30 years she'd never spoken his name publicly. Now, with nothing to lose, she pushed on. Everyone thinks I left Desi because of his drinking, his affairs, his gambling. All true. But that's not why our marriage ended. Tears streamed down her face. I destroyed it, Johnny, not him, me. Johnny started to interrupt. Lucy, you don't have to. She held up a hand, fierce. Yes, I do. Because in 8 days I'll be gone, and if I don't say this now, I'll die with this regret eating me alive. Her body shook with sobs. After our son was born, Desi begged me to quit the show. He said, Lucy, we have enough money, let's be a family, watch our kids grow. And I said no. Her voice cracked with agony. I said no because I loved the fame more than I loved him. I chose being Lucy Ricardo over being Lucie Arnaz, and it destroyed everything. The studio was so quiet you heard the air conditioning. Desi died 3 years ago, Lucy choked out. 2 days before he passed, he took my hand and said, Lucy, I never stopped loving you, not for one single day. She sobbed uncontrollably. And I realized I threw away the love of my life for what? A TV show? Fame? People knowing my name? Desi is gone. My kids barely know me because I was always working. I have Emmy Awards and a Hollywood star, and I'd trade every single one for one more day with him. The entire studio erupted, not in applause but in shared grief. People wept openly. Johnny moved his chair closer, taking her hand. Do you know what I did after Desi died? Lucy asked, voice raw. I stood in our old driveway and screamed at the sky. Why didn't I say yes? 3 years of waking up knowing I made the worst choice of my life. Now I'm dying, and I can't fix it. She turned straight to the camera, makeup smudged, eyes burning with urgency. If you have someone you love and you're putting work first, stop. If you're missing your kid's game for a meeting, stop. I'm one of the most famous women in history telling you none of it matters if you lose the people you love. Her voice broke completely. I threw away everything because I was scared people would forget me. Well, they will forget me. But Desi would have loved me forever. My children would have had a mother, and I wouldn't be sitting here dying full of regret. Johnny helped her stand as the audience gave a standing ovation of pure empathy, lasting 3 full minutes while Lucy trembled in his arms. When she finally spoke to the crowd, her voice was raw but clear. Please, go home tonight. Tell the people you love they matter more. Hug your kids. Hold your spouse. Choose them. Always choose love. 8 days later, Lucille Ball died at age 77. But here's what happened next. NBC got over 400,000 letters after that broadcast. Not fan mail, raw confessions from people whose lives changed overnight. One man showed the clip to his estranged wife, and they reconciled that very night. A corporate lawyer quit his 6-figure job the next morning, haunted by Lucy's words. I'd trade every Emmy for one more day with the man I loved. Parents wrote about finally showing up for recitals and games. Families who hadn't spoken in years reunited. Johnny Carson spoke at Lucy's funeral, voice thick with emotion. She spent 40 years making us laugh, but in that final interview, she gave us permission to admit our regrets. She saved marriages. That was Lucy's real legacy. Today, that interview lives in the Library of Congress, not as entertainment history, but as a cultural wake-up call. Therapists show it when couples chase success over connection. Business schools screen it for CEOs sacrificing their teams for profit. Why? Because Lucille Ball's last performance revealed the truth we all avoid. Fame fades, success vanishes, but real love outlives us. She died knowing she traded family for fame, but because she screamed that truth on national television, millions changed their stories before it was too late. They chose bedtime stories over board meetings, dinner tables over corner offices, presents over prestige. They chose love. Don't wait for a terminal diagnosis. Don't wait for a funeral. Don't wait until the only person left to say, "I'm sorry," is a photo on a shelf. Lucille Ball's legacy isn't "I love Lucy." It's those 400,000 letters. It's marriages saved, families reunited, people who heard her sob and said, "Not me, not while I still have time." If you check emails during your kid's piano recital or cancel dates for one more project, stop right now. Text your partner, "I choose you." Call your mom. Hug your child. Do it today, before the stage goes dark. The world will forget your name, but the people who love you, they'll remember if you showed up. They'll remember if you chose them. That's a legacy that never fades. Tell someone you love them now, not after the promotion, not after the deadline. For Lucy, for Desi, for the version of yourself who won't have to sit alone whispering, "Why didn't I say yes?" Choose love. Always choose love.